Hey there, folks, and welcome back to Off the Rails, a fortnightly podcast about video games with your host, the offrailgamer. I'm back after a brief hiatus, and I will be jumping into the main part of the show very quickly this week, but first, I just want to ask, did you hear it? While I was away, I kicked off a new podcast series called Tales from the Consoleverse. You can catch the first 5 episodes now. I'll pop a link in the podcast episode description. Other than that, I'm going to rename the following segment this week, so cue the music and I'll tell you what I've been up to recently. Yes, sorry folks, I've been away recently, and I really do mean it. I took a lovely trip with my partner to Istanbul, Turkey. I'd been before with friends, but that was a long time ago, so it was really nice to go back. We explored some of the places I'd been to last time, but also squeezed in some other attractions too. Highlights included the lavish Topkapi Palace Museum, with its stunning mosaics and tiled rooms, the Blue Mosque, which is again a sight to behold. Sadly, much of the Hagia Sophia that you used to be able to explore has now been closed off to the public, though that hasn't been reflected in the entry fee. For those familiar with the Ezio trilogy of Assassin's Creed games, we also reached the top of the Galata Tower for some incredible evening views of the city all lit up. Oh, and the food was beautiful as well. We didn't have a single meal that wasn't perfectly flavoured. I ate particularly well, I can tell you. But I appreciate you came here to listen to me talk video games, so I will get back on topic and tell you about what I've been playing as well. I'll start pre-trip, and I got back on the Wii. But it won't be what you're thinking. You see, there's been a lot of people online who've been playing Guitar Hero, or Clone Hero at least, which is effectively Guitar Hero, only, as I understand, I think you can download any song and customize your setlist. Anyway, I've never owned a Guitar Hero game before. I played at friends' houses, but never had a copy of my own, until now, that is. I picked up Guitar Hero 5 with a guitar controller for the Wii. I'm not great at the moment, but I think I'm holding my own on normal or hard difficulty. I was thoroughly enjoying it, so I went ahead and picked up Guitar Hero Metallica, a band I'm really trying to get into at the moment. There are a number of their songs that I like now, whereas in the past I must confess I'd struggled to understand all the hype. They're a band that I want to like though, and playing their music in a game just might help me. Finally, while I was on holiday, I got Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. I've not had a chance to play this one, but I'm looking forward to pressing some multicoloured buttons in time to some music. I've continued playing Stardew Valley and have completed the Community Centre and the abandoned Joja Mart bundles. I've also levelled up all the skill set mastery, a new feature in the game, and I got all the golden walnuts and island upgrades on Ginger Island, so now the residents of Pelican Town can take day trips and lounge on the beach over there. On holiday, I took my analog pocket with me. As such, I started a new game of Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. I haven't really spent a lot of time with this game before, but I definitely feel like I get it now. I'm really enjoying the gameplay, although I'm currently running around in circles in the second cave. I'm sure I'll feel quite silly when I do work out where I'm meant to be going. I also have some emulated games saved on the SD card and have really got into Star Trek The Next Generation on Game Boy. When I first played this game, I had no real clue what I was doing. Now I think I need to make better use of Geordie LaForge minigames to keep the various systems at full power. I've had a few disastrous run-ins with the Romulans now, but I haven't been able to put the game down for long this past couple of weeks. The missions are varied and give you just a taste of what it might be like to be a crew member of the Enterprise. And lastly, emulated on my analog again, I started a new game of Herbs Sims in the City for Game Boy Advance. It's a neat game, and I've grabbed myself a hoverboard, as in Back to the Future style. It looks like there's a lot to do in the game, but I just can't do much at the moment, so hopefully I can start unlocking more activities before I lose interest. Well, that's what I've been playing recently. If you wait there while the music plays, I'll open up the Retro Marcade quick. Pong. I'm not talking about the strange whiff coming from the bathroom after, well, the less said about that, the better, perhaps. No, the Pong I'm talking about is one of the earliest video games. Created by Alan Alcorn as part of a training exercise, Pong was developed and published in arcades by Atari in 1972. It was based on an electronic ping-pong game included in the very earliest home console, the Magnavox Odyssey. The groundwork for Pong was laid all the way back in 1958 though, when Ralph Baer proposed making simple games that could be played on people's television sets at home. Clearly a forward thinker, but I wonder if even he might have imagined gaming bringing us to where we are today. But we have Pong in a nutshell there. It's table tennis that you can play on TV screen. You have a paddle on either side of the screen which can be moved up or down by player input control or by computer AI if you don't have a real-life opponent. And then there's a ball you deflect back and forth across the screen when it collides with the virtual paddles. The aim of the game is to put the ball behind your opponent's paddle where they can't return it. This will score you a point. By the same token, you don't want to miss the ball yourself, as this will score your opponent a point. I think, like table tennis, the first to score 21 points wins. Correct me if I'm mistaken. I think the first time I saw Pong, or at least a virtual table tennis game, was in the Science Museum in that London. I think I first played at home though, on an Atari joystick plug and play, which I still have to this day. We got this when I was in my early teens, and occasionally my family and I would take turns trying to win the high score in Pong, Breakout, Missile Defense, and Asteroids. It's a simple game, but one that is good fun to play. We learned that you could position your paddle just right and beat the computer without touching the joystick again. But it is of course much more rewarding to win legitimately. Anyway, that's about all I have to say this week, so I'll cue up the music and we can jump right on into the main part of the show. I'm going to do things a little different from the norm this segment, just for this week only, and I will still be keeping things vaguely on topic, so I guess there was really no reason to alarm you, if indeed you were alarmed, at the way I opened this main part of the show. Which is a very long-winded way of saying not much at all, but basically I'm going to be talking about a couple of projects I've got on at the moment. You'll have noticed that I have gone pretty quiet on YouTube and TikTok recently, and while I do fully intend to get back into video content creation and streaming, I have had to find time for the other things I've been getting into, and I didn't want it to come at the expense of Off the Rails, which has been the only thing I've mostly been able to maintain some level of consistency with over the last 2 years. Anyway, Project 1. I mentioned in the last episode of Off the Rails that I was launching a new podcast series, and on the 5th of May this year, I remained true to my word. You can find the first 5 episodes of Tales from the Consoleverse online now. So far, it's up on Spotify and YouTube, and should be up on Amazon Music today or tomorrow. And then I want to get it onto Castbox as well, so you'll be able to find it all the same places you can listen to Off the Rails. But what exactly is this new series? Well, I've very briefly outlined it previously, but if you haven't caught an episode yet, I can now give you a greater idea of what it is I'm doing. So far, I've been asking ChatGPT to write some stories about popular video games and video game characters. Then, on the podcast, I'm reading those stories out and even attempting to do the voices. My Luigi is particularly poor. We started out with the story about Spyro the Dragon, tackling the Shattered Realms in an effort to restore some sense of normality and protect the homes of the creatures he calls friends. Along the way, he learns the importance of teamwork and that it's okay to rely on the help of friends when dealing with a foe greater than himself. Next up, Sonic the Hedgehog investigated the peculiarities caused by the long-lost Crystal Nexus, which, in the hands of Dr. Robotnik, was being used to bend and twist reality into something almost wholly unrecognizable. Luckily, he had the help of his friends to face down the Mad Doctor in an effort to return Mobius to its former normality. In episode 3, we got much more light-hearted in a sitcom-style episode about the Nintendo princesses. Peach decided they deserved a day off from their royal duties and took Daisy and Rosalina to a day spa. It wasn't really Daisy's thing, so the next day she dragged the party off to an escape room. The ladies learned some new skills that they were able to put into practice when they got home and found Bowser attempting a hostile takeover of the Mushroom Kingdom. We got a bit more serious in the following episode, a noir detective-style story set in Stardew Valley. Detective Cal Briggs was put onto a case when someone had been interfering with Gus's supplies for the Stardrop Saloon. He followed the corruption to the source and uncovered a dastardly scheme that would affect the entire valley and change the peaceful way of life for good. Finally, Klonoa and his trusty companion Hupao went on a quest to investigate a strange storm cloud and ended up revealing the truth behind the Forgotten Sky, a power that had been sealed away long before any living memory. The Forgotten Sky had the power to destroy the world, but the decision fell on Klonoa's shoulders as to whether it should remain sealed away or to discern whether its power could be a force for good. Naturally, these are only a very brief synopsis of the stories told, so I would encourage you to go and listen to the full episodes. I am working on the next episode and hope to have more up soon. Part of me is considering having a go at writing some of my own stories down the line, but for now at least I'm enjoying seeing what AI can dream up for us. It may not exactly be War and Peace, but I'd say it's been better than anything Dan Brown came up with so far. But as I said, I had 2 new projects on the go, and have only described one so far, and that was the more off-topic of the 2, although it is still somewhat relevant as it is, at the very least, new original stories about existing beloved video game characters. For my other project, I've been following an online course of lectures on video game development. Before I overstate anything, I will say that I'm not particularly far into the course yet, but I feel like I've already learned a lot. So, allow me to tell you a little bit about what I'm learning, what I've covered so far, what I know is coming up, and what my overall plan for this all is. Well, so far, I've really just learned the basics. I'm working in a program called Godot, which allows you to create 2D and 3D games. The course I'm currently following is teaching me how to build a 2D action-adventure game. Think something along the lines of Stardew Valley or The Legend of Zelda games on the Game Boy. I'm using an asset pack that was recommended in the lectures. This provides all the visual elements and artwork, including backgrounds such as flooring and terrain, buildings, trees, and characters, etc. The other neat thing is it contains all the animation frames, which brings me nicely onto what I consider to be the most impressive part of what I've achieved so far. Godot uses its own programming language called GDScript. Although I'm really only scratching the surface at the moment, it puts me in mind of the format of commands in Excel and Visual Basic, which I already have some familiarity with. So far, I've learned the code or script to make my player character move around the screen based on keyboard input using the WASD or the arrow keys. It also recognises control input from an Xbox controller, so I can move my character with the joystick. But more than that, it's animated, so that they will run in the direction you move them, rather than just gliding around the screen. The animation also stops playing when the character stops moving. I still have a lot to learn, including collision mechanics, so that the character can't run through solid objects. I'll also be learning how to interact with NPCs, for example in combat situations. What I'm hoping this means is that I'll be able to animate NPC routines to be able to flesh out the game world and give it some realism. Perhaps in the immediate term, NPCs will remain rooted in one spot though, similar to games like Zelda or Pokemon. I know the course includes combat animation such as use of melee weapons, and we've already covered some of the script that will be used to monitor hit points. I'm hopeful that I'll learn to prompt on-screen text boxes to display NPC dialogue when interacting with them. The other thing I'm keen to try is creating my own assets and animation frames so that I can ultimately create something truly unique and original. Well, in as far as visuals at least. So what is my plan then? Well, I intend to finish the course and then create a short playable demo, possibly using the asset pack I have downloaded. This will allow me to test everything I've learned and learn to identify and hopefully patch any bugs in a fully realised project. Beyond this, I plan to create my own asset pack and make a full game. So who knows, you might one day be able to play as the off-railgamer in a short adventure. That is, of course, a way down the line yet though. But if I make progress, I'll be sure to keep you all appraised. I do also have access to a course of lectures on creating 3D games, which I plan to explore in the future, but first I'd like to be able to say I've at least built a complete project in 2D. I just can't help feeling it would be so cool to be able to say, I made that, about something. Well listen, that's been a bit of a rundown of the new projects I've been working on lately, and that has been another episode of Off the Rails. Thank you so much for listening. I hope to have the next tale from the Consoleverse up soon. Otherwise, I'll be back here in around 2 weeks' time. Bye!